Hey, for anyone joining, which I can't see quite yet, but I'm just in the middle of getting everything configured, so just bear with me for just a few moments. Alright. Oh, I got one person viewing. Interesting, interesting. Um, cool. Man, I should be way better at this. I need like a system to yeah, just to, have this all pre-set up so I can just like click a button and everything just happens. But I'm not that good yet. One day I will be that good, and you know, I'll be a real YouTuber then. I think that's how it works. Also, I'm streaming today at a slightly higher res, and I don't know if my computer's going to be able to handle that super well. So we'll see. And if it does, that'll be really cool. And if it doesn't, then obviously we're going to have to, I don't know, maybe I'll set up donations so people can buy me something I can stream good quality on. But anyway, yeah, that's life. Let me just keep doing my stuff. So yeah, unit testing. That's a thing. We're gonna talk about it today. We're gonna do some too. Um, yeah. So my background is mostly doing unit testing, and that is kind of a if you're not aware, it's very granular testing. Um, but we're gonna go over a little bit of end to end as well because I hear that's what the cool kids do. Um, yeah, yeah. Sorry, I'm a little disjointed right now while I'm still trying to share all these links appropriately with people. So one day I will be good at this. I promise. But it is not this day. Alright, cool. Looks like everyone that should have the link has a link. Alright, now we can do some code. And I'll just give my general warning. I'm not a YouTuber, I'm just a guy who likes to program, and hyperapps really cool, so that's what I'm programming with these days. Um, yeah. And so I'm going to try my best to monitor any chat. So I've got the HyperApp chat currently open, as well as YouTube, so maybe I will catch anything that you friendly friends have to say. And if I don't, you can spam the chat and hopefully I will see it. Cool. Yeah, unit testing. Unit testing is really cool. So what I do we're going to do some end-to-end stuff. First, I'm going to take you through what we got. So I'm using Ava. You can use whatever you want. All these, the test idea and like the general setup is going to be the same between Ava, Mocha, Jest, whatever other cool tools kids are using these days. I don't know, but I know there's lots of options. Ava's mine just because it favors having discrete tests and it's very fast. Uh, yeah, so this is kind of what the setup looks like for Ava. So you need Babel register to set it up, and a little bit of config. So just saying, hey, these are where the tests are going to be, and use Babel because Node by default does not. And let's see. Yeah, so I have a test file set up. So these are just some unit tests I've done. And also, if you haven't caught any of the other live streams, so I've been typically using my list app for testing just because it's nice and simple, and I think there's lots of use cases. So just so you know, this is what it does. I can, add to a list, and I can remove stuff, and that all works. So hopefully that's like a good rundown. But again, if you have questions or you need to stop me, you can chat in the HyperApp general channel and I'll catch it, or in the live chat on YouTube, which I think should be working, should be live. If it's not, someone let me know, and hopefully I'll see. All right. So we're going to step through the tests I have now, and then we're going to go through some tests that I could be writing. So we'll start a brand new file with the new tests, just so you can see the general setup. Tests aren't scary. I hope everyone can kind of come in with that particular perspective, and that's going to make life way easier. Alright, so I have a bit of a test rig, mainly because I want to be able to test a series of actions, and in reality I don't need to run the whole hyperapps for that. I just need to be able to catch each transform and then be able to observe the state. So that's what this does. It just takes an array of the transforms, so those are like our actions, and then each action we know gets a state and actions returned. So that's how we're going to do it. Go through each action and we keep augmenting the state. So we start with our initial state here, and this copy gets an immutable copy and updates, and then we have our particular transform, which takes whatever state we're currently folding into it, and then our set of actions. So that's what's going on there. I'm also a big fan of snapshot tests. So what a snapshot test is you give it a chunk of data, which could be, in our case, a hyperapp DOM tree. It could be an object. It could be, well, like any variable, so like arrays or strings. And first time around, it always passes. So essentially what a snapshot is good for is letting you know when you've changed something that changes the structure of the data. I've ran into a lot of people that haven't used snapshots before. They're pretty neat though, and I like them because it kind of is a glob, right? So it can, instead of writing a bunch of super granular tests that say, like, for instance with virtual DOM, if all elements exist, instead we just care about do the elements look the same as they used to. And then so Jest actually does a really good job of snapshots. With Ava, I'm not actually super happy with them. It generates these two files. So one is a snapshot, which is like a binary representation, which isn't great because I can't really read it. However, it also outputs a markdown version, which shows you the snapshot, so like that's okay. But I don't like that it's generating two files. I'd kind of prefer it just to give me one human readable file, which Jest does a far better job at, but not a big deal. Cool. So first we just make sure that my initial test is that when I render stuff, that it looks right. So the very first render should always look the same, which is this over here, the empty input box in a list. And so we can look in this markdown here. And this looks about right. So we've got one child, which is an input, and it has the correct attributes, and it's inside an list item node in a unordered list. Yeah, so all that looks right to me. So cool. Another thing too is if your snapshots are observable, like human readable in some way, then you should definitely be actually double checking those and verifying. Like, that's your job. That's why you're a developer, is so you can catch these things. So just blindly updating snapshots every push to your like repo or company code or whatever you got is typically a bad idea. So just always review them. But the review's pretty easy. Like, I just went through it there in like under a minute. We were like, yep, that looks right. Yeah, so do that. That's good. And I got some other snapshots. So I've added an item to our list and called first, and it should match the snapshot. So we're just going to open up our snapshot markdown again, and let's see. So initial view, that's not what we want. We want view with item matches snapshot, and it looks like it. So we've got our first child here, which says the string first, and it's an anchor. It's got our X tag, and it's got our input underneath with no value. So that looks all good to me too. I guess we'll keep going down these for right now. So we also want a, I guess that, is that the end of our unit tests? Maybe. View with text matches. Did I skip one of these? Oh, yeah. Okay, there's a snapshot. Sorry, I kind of briefly reading and grabbing the wrong one. So cool. So we set the text that should be in the text box to first. So I guess they're, oh, I see. So they're reordered because I think it's a potentially an alphabetical order issue. So that's also interesting. I didn't think Ava would care about that, but apparently it does. So here we only have the one child with an input, but it looks like we have the correct value in it, so that's good. So now I'm going to close that just so we can look at the code a little better. Yeah, so we got some state testing too. So in this case, I want to check that the initial state of items is empty. So this is maybe a no-op test. You should be able to just look at your initial state and like you just know that that's going to be the case, because this is essentially testing that JavaScript works, right? Like when I go over to my app and I look at my initial state, I have an empty array of items. But this is kind of helpful in a sense that I'm expecting it to be empty. So at some point in the future, I don't accidentally, mistype a 1 in there and then scratch my head for a while. That can happen. Another option here would be to, instead of having this test here, in fact, maybe we'll do this now. We'll initial state matches snapshot. So basically what I want to say here is that the initial state, I don't change that from revision to revision. And that's actually a pretty sane test. Let's see, yeah, snapshot, and this is going to be just initial state. So now if at any point I change what the initial state looks like, I have to go through my tests and say, oh, yeah, that's okay. In fact, maybe we'll just do that right now. So I'm going to shut down the server right now and run your test. Cool, so we already have a snapshot difference. So let's see what that is and why that is. So view with text should match. So we got a UL and LI. What is going on here? is we have a okay. It's very possible that I like changed some code and didn't update these tests in the meantime. So yeah, let's update those snapshots. Then we're going to do a quick review just to make sure that they are indeed the correct things. So let's just close that for right now. Alright, so initial state, so that's our new test. So yeah, we have empty items, empty text. Initial view, so we have an input that has no value, and that is the only list item in our unordered list. And oh, I see what happened. So I at one point had this wrapped in a div, and I removed that. I think that was actually last live stream, and I didn't run the unit test because I didn't want to do a distraction. But as a result, my snapshots got out of date, and no one caught it. There's people watching, no one caught it. That's okay. The best thing, one thing I like to say at work is you're not wrong if no one caught you doing it. So take from that what you will. But I caught myself, so that makes it better, I think. Yeah. Anyway, right. So we're gonna do our yarn tests. Everything passes. The dash U with Ava. So yarn test is just internally running Ava. Dash U gets forwarded to the Ava binary, and U just means update snapshots. That's actually that might fire it off, but if we do yarn bin Ava help, we can just look over these really quick, just so you know I'm not doing anything too crazy. So init we don't have to do, we've already done it. I believe what Ava will do on init is add its dependencies to your package.json file. Fail fast, serial. Yeah, so Ava by default does all tests in parallel, so that's why it's really, really fast. However, there's some cases where you probably don't want that. I can't think of any off the top of my head, but perhaps like a series of tests that are sharing state, so you have to wait for one test to finish to do like a modification. That sounds to me like maybe you're writing unit tests a little badly, but like let's say you inherited some code and you're moving it over to some other system, that might be a good use case. Tap, yeah, so I'm not actually sure what tap is. From what I understand, it's some sort of like stream processor, so you can like stream in tests into tap and it does some sort of transforms to it. Not a big deal, we're not going to deal with that right now, because I'm not sure that that's actually in scope of unit testing. Verbose, no cache, blah 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 blah. Most of these are just kind of boring stuff. Match, so yeah, we can do like a bunch of dash m's if we want to only do certain tests, like if I want to do yarn test dash m snapshot, then that's only gonna cover tests that have the text snapshot maybe. Or do I need to add quotes? Only run tests with matching title. Maybe it needs some like, I don't know. That's what I get for not trying out any of this code ahead of time. But maybe some like stars. Aw, yeah. Okay. That's cool. Yeah. As you can tell, like my preparation for doing these live streams is literally just, coming to my computer, because why would I ever want to look professional or like I know what I'm doing? But anyway, yeah. So dash U does our updates, and M is our scoping. Yeah. Anyway, so if these all work, which they do, I'll just show you very quickly the process of if we change the initial state and something went wrong. So let's say we accidentally did 1, 2, and 3 into our items and ran yarn test, and that's going to fail because obviously that's not our snapshot anymore. And in fact, that breaks a few other tests because other tests were expecting that the items were blank. So that's perfectly fine. In fact, that's kind of means that other tests have a bit of overlap, which is not necessarily a bad thing. Um, yeah, and then when we change it back, then everything's happy with us again, and that's where we'd like to keep it. And I promise I'll get past this boring part and we'll start actually writing some cool tests. Just please bear with me. Or don't, you know. I'm just a YouTuber, I'm not a cop. But yeah, so now we definitely don't need this anymore because we have our snapshot up here. And so let's see what our other tests are. So we can add an item, so when we throw our action, add items into the run actions, we know our state gets updated properly. We can also add a bunch of blank items. But should we be able to? That seems like something that we could test and maybe prevent. Especially because here, yeah, like this kind of looks like a bug to me, right? Like we've got a bunch of items. So I think we can change this test. So how do we want to do this? So I don't think the app should throw. I think the app should just not add any items. Cool. So let's find add item. There we go. Here it is. Actually, I'll go full screen here just so we can, since I don't think we're going to be running the app too much here. Yeah, so I think what we want is when we do an add item, we need to check whether or not the item is a string or not, and then decide whether or not we want to concat. So right now we're just like directly returning a state, and that seems like the wrong thing now because we need a little bit of logic. So we're just going to refactor this a little. Cool. So now we have a little bit of space up here where we can do some logic. So I think probably what needs to happen is if item is an empty string, then we just return. So with hyperapp, if you have an action and you just return nothing, then nothing gets updated. Because in the background, I'll just pull this up so you can see that I'm not crazy. And we'll just clear out those weird little error messages. But what's happening when you do an update is it's just doing an object assign. So you'll have something like previous state, which maybe we'll say foo is bar, or bar as a string because that seems like a thing. And yeah, it totally makes sense that maybe we can't do that. Okay, we're just gonna say state because that's what I get for being a bad programmer sometimes. Cool. And if I do an object.assign, and we did some empties, and we did a state, and then we did undefined, which is what a function returns if there's no return value, we still end up with state. So behind the scenes, we still do an object assign, I believe. I would have to double check with the source code. Maybe it does an early exit for us automatically. But either way, object assign isn't going to do anything, which is exactly what we want in this particular case. So we don't update anything, we don't clear any text because it's an empty string, and we don't add items. Cool. So this is going to break our tests because my original assumption was that you could add empty items, but that seems like a thing that you shouldn't be able to do. And we only have this one test that cares about it. And in reality, it's you cannot add 3 empty items. So it sounds like that. But the 3 seems really not obvious. So one thing about the unit tests that I do that I think is very important is that your unit test should actually behave a bit like documentation. So if I read this, I'd go, oh, well, I can't do 3 in a row. Maybe I can do 1 or 2. but in reality, it just cannot add empty items. And that doesn't matter if we have 3, we could have a billion, it doesn't matter. I mean, like, we could also test that some do get added that aren't empty, which would be foo bar. And running the tests, it should still pass. Aw, yeah. Cool. So we just wrote our first unit test, technically. It was already a little pre-assembled, but this is obviously a way better test, and now we know that the app does the right thing. So in fact, we'll boot that up. Yeah, let's add another tab for testing, so we can keep this open. And we'll just shove that over a little bit, refresh our page. Cool, so now I can hit enter here all I want, nothing happens, but if I have some characters in there, then everything seems to do exactly what we want, and I can't add empties. Cool. Alright, so let's close up the source code there. Actually, let's go back for just a second. Is there any way that we can make this code a little nicer? Yes. Yeah, so one thing that I'm not a huge fan of, again, like, so this is a lot of my personal preference, so just because I'm not a huge fan does not mean that it is wrong. So, but what I don't like is we have some like extra logic here where we could just kind of flow through the same logic. So let's defactor. We refactored this earlier, but we're gonna defactor it, and we're gonna see if we can do this with a little less effort, because my experience tells me that the least amount of effort you put into like code, so the less complex, the less large it is, the easier it is to reason about, the easier it is to refactor, and yeah, it's better. It's better for everyone. So what if we said if item is empty string, then we could just do state.items, and otherwise that. So this isn't too bad. I think we can take it one step further, but let's just read it out, make sure we're doing the right thing. So we've got an item, we check to see if it's an empty string, and if that's the case, just return the old items back. And if that is not the case, so we have some form of text, then we add it. So let's do that, and let's run our tests, which should still pass. Cool. But again, we got a little bit of extra stuff going on there. What if item, what if we could be a little more generic? So what if we said if item, we're just going to shuffle this around a little bit. Cool. So if item, so in JavaScript, an empty string is falsy, and let's just test that right now. So empty is false. Good old Chrome. Yep. And obviously with a triple, not so much. But we only need to worry about double, which is what JavaScript internally uses by default. So if item is truthy, then we add it, and otherwise use the old ones. Let's go to that right tab, rerun our unit tests. Everything still works. We'll do a hard reload just so you know there's no magic. Empties don't work. I can do a space, and that works. And that. Which then I guess takes us to our next thing, which is we probably don't want any empties that also include spaces. So let's see how we do that. So cannot add items with only white space. Cool, so we'll build our state, so run actions. One of these days I'll learn how to type too. And we're going to use our initial state and actions. Alright, so we want to use our actions.add item, And this time we just want something with a few spaces in it. And curious if I don't. So I'm currently set in Vim to not use tabs, so I'm not sure if I can actually add that, but I guess I can do \t, and that will hopefully work as well. And so we'll just copy that because sometimes I can't type. So we know both these cases shouldn't be added because they're both white space. So let's do that, and our test should fail because we haven't actually changed the code. So this particular methodology, if you're not again familiar, is called test-driven development. So you write a test that you know should fail. In fact, if you've read Bob Martin's clean code, yeah, your first test should always fail, and then write the code that accomplishes that test, and then rerun your test, and it should pass. I'm doing some gross oversimplification, but that's what's going on. Oh, cool. Yeah, thanks, Wolfgang. Yeah, so no assign happens, which I'm sure would be a huge optimization, so that's good. Yeah, sorry, I'm a little slow on keeping up with the chat, but I'll try my best. Cool. So that doesn't work. Our spacing. So let's go back to the code. And yeah, so our item is maybe not going to do the right thing anymore. So I believe we'll just I'll live this. Last time, my last live stream, I did all my MDN checks on a separate monitor so no one could see, but now you can see that sometimes even professionals look at MDN. I have this tab open literally all day because JavaScript's a mess, but we love it. It's like a hot mess, I think, or something, something like that. Cool, so I think we get a trim, which will take care of all the white space. Does it? Let's see, so yeah. White space in this context for trim is white space, so space, tab, non-breaking space, and all the line terminator characters. Okay, cool. So I guess with that we should also add another test that r/n, which is pretty typical for editors for doing like new lines. I think that's the Windows version, might be the Unix version. It's been a while. I don't really deal in that world as much anymore. But yeah, so if we use trim here, so if I did a .trim, then that's going to take us down to potentially an empty string, which is precisely what we want in our test cases. So all of our spaces will be trimmed down to an empty string. Same with our tabs, and same with our new lines. So, let's see, did that do the trick that we needed to do? Cool. The code base is getting stronger, I can feel it. I'm sorry. My humor is probably just like super dry and everyone's just like groaning. That's just how it is sometimes, you know? Alright, so we can update text, which is setting the text. So this test actually brings me to a really interesting point, and something that I find myself doing in React, but not in HyperApp, is in when I'm doing unit tests in React, typically with Enzyme, I actually simulate events to trigger updates through the code. But what I don't like about that is it feels like I'm testing that a browser does the right thing. Whereas when I just have everything tied to an action and a state update, like we do in HyperApp and Elm and probably a few others, then we can just run the action, because that's what I care about. I don't care that a browser can actually run an input on change event or on input event. What I care about is the code that I control does the right thing. Because if the browser doesn't do the right thing, then that's going to be a per browser issue, and I can't test for it this way. Alright, so here we've got another instance where I'm doing a test around the initial state, which I don't need to do anymore because we have our snapshot test. So we'll remove that. And so we set our text to first, and ava.is is our I think it's a loose equal operator, then deep equal is like our triple equals. So dot is, so did our state.text update to first? Cool, it did, because our test passed. So we'll save that. Although we'll rerun, we did change the test a little. We got rid of that initial check, which technically wouldn't change the output of the test, but, you know, just for sanity. In this, we can remove items. So our initial state is always going to be empty. So in this case, I have kind of two assertions that I want to do, which is why I'm using a let instead of a const. So first I want to populate a few items into the state, and then I want to assert that the state has updated the way I expect it to. And then I want to remove an item. So removing an item takes an index of where that item is in the array. It would help if I open up the right file to demonstrate that. Cool, so we've got remove item, takes an index and a state, and then just does a little bit of array slicing to remove what we don't want. And if anyone is curious why I'm using this instead of a splice, it's because splice actually modifies the input array. So if I did state.items.splice, whatever, well, I guess there's two problems. So the first problem is it returns the things that I'm removing from the array. So if I did like splice to remove whatever's that index 1, which is what's in our test, then the result of that wouldn't actually be the new array without that item. It would be the item that I removed from the array, and then the previous array has just been mutated. So that's why I didn't use that, because then I wouldn't be able to do kind of a nice easy return of an object, which I think is typically what you want an action to do. Like sometimes there's good use cases to not, like if you're doing like a fetch to a URL or some sort of XHR request or something that, yeah, does something that doesn't return a state. But if you can manage it without like a lot of repeated code, then returning a singular object is pretty cool. So yeah, that's what this slice is doing, is just removing that item. So here we know we're removing item 1. So this is 0, this is 1, so we should no longer have second. And we know the unit tests pass, but just for sanity's sake, now you've seen the code, we'll run it. Everything's good. Cool. So that is unit testing. So the difference between unit and end-to-end is I'm just doing an isolated piece. So here, like for instance, I'm just doing a snapshot, and there isn't any interaction required. Here I'm just doing a set of actions and observing the state. So because the test is just observing the state, this doesn't matter. So so let's actually rename this. We're gonna call this like unit.test, which means that my snapshots are going to be onto a different file. So let me just clear out these old ones. Run yarn test, which will regenerate our snapshots. So now when I refresh this, we have unit. So what if we did app.e2e.test.js? So e to e being end to end, which is also pretty interesting. So let's see, to get end to end going, I'm just going to, we're going to peek at George's code. Yeah, where are we going? We're going to hyperapp. So, as anyone knows that's asked in the channel, Anytime someone says, "Hey, how do I test my app?" George will almost immediately be, "Hey, check out the hyperapp test examples," which are super great examples. It's actually when I first started with hyperapp, I looked through them too because I wanted to understand how he was testing them and how I can go about testing them as well. So we're going to check out the life cycle ones because it's going to be a little bit more indicative of the sort of tests that we want to do with end to end. So end to end is essentially saying like if I run the app, can I perform certain actions and do they do the right thing? Which is very different from unit testing. So end to end, you're typically going to want to um, build test cases based on like a user experience or a user story. So a lot of times when I get requirements for an application, for instance, it'll be kind of in the language of like a user can log in, a user can log out, a user can add something to their account, and so that's an example of what you would create an end-to-end test of. So I want to now basically initialize the app and then use the actions that are wired and returned to do the things that the what do you say the oh man, I'm getting tired. I'm sorry, but what the user story would say. So yeah, here we've got some like document body. So it looks like maybe there's some like test initializer setup. I think he's using JS DOM too. So let's just see. We'll be that guy. Um, let's see. What are you using, George? Because it doesn't look like you're using anything. My goodness, you just come here. You're thinking you're gonna find stuff. um, all right, so maybe Jess comes with something pre-built for DOM. But okay, so I think we're gonna use undom because I've got more experience with that than other things. So we'll just do yarn add dev. It's dev dependency because we're using it for testing, which the average human is not doing when they grab your package or your app. Yeah, so let's grab that. Hopefully that doesn't take too long. I recently got it, so hopefully it's already cached. We'll see. Not too bad. Cool. Alright, so undom is, for people unaware, it just mocks out like a DOM of the page, so it'll expose like a window and a document and the basic features required for something to manipulate that DOM. So yeah, let's do that. So we're gonna just jump into my previous test because I've got a little bit of poo brain. These things happen, you know. 6:40. I ate some food. Came on here to do some YouTube, and you know, you got a little bit of pizza brain. Yeah, I ate pizza. You know, it's a programmer life. Oh, it does come with JSDOM. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought. So that's good to know. So I think undom gives us something like a undom register. So that might work. That might fail really, really horribly. um, I don't know. I guess we can run the tests. So my tests are set up to match on anything that's .test.js. So even though there's no tests there, it doesn't look like it had any problems actually loading that up. So that's cool. So let's see. So with our list app, we'll just take a look over here. So what's something that a user would do? Well, a user's obviously going to type in some stuff and press enter. So again, I don't want to deal with the DOM too much, but in this case, I think there's a pretty good use case for mocking that out, which I think undom does. We'll we'll struggle through it and we'll see how bad it gets. So let's see. So a user can add an item to the list. Alright, so there's going to be a little bit of setup that we need to do to make this do the right thing. So we need to bring in app and h from hyperapp. because we actually have to mount things now. So my previous test didn't need this because I was purely testing on the state and how the actions interact with it, and manually calling view with my state to output a virtual DOM. But now I actually want to mount the app so we can run tests the way that the app would actually run them. So that means that we're going to do something like list equals app. We're going to pass it the initial state, my actions, my view, and we're also going to have to give it some sort of a target. I think we can do document.body. I mean, like, give or take all the options that George has been giving us with recycle element, but I don't think any of that's been merged, so it doesn't matter. So, you know, I'm just rambling. I'm a rambling guy sometimes. Cool. So that's going to use undom's document body. And just for the sake of sanity, we could do something like console log document.body. Can we do inner HTML? Maybe I can just do document body. We'll see what that gives us. I think it's actually, this is a bad idea. I don't know what's going to happen. Everything could break. So we'll find out. Oh, hey, that it worked better than I thought. So that's not too bad. However, we have no child nodes or any of that fun stuff, which I think potentially list does like an async. Yeah, I think it does an async render. So there's a way we can fix this, and that is by wrapping our view. So this seems like something that we're going to be doing quite often. So let's think this through a little bit. So what if we had something called like mount list, and it's just a function. I don't think we need to give it anything yet. We can maybe modify this later though. But yeah, it looks like maybe we want our I don't know what do we want to call this? Maybe wrapped is going to be state action. So this is going to look just like a view, and we're just going to wrap this in a div that has an on create. Actually, maybe this is a good case here. So what if we did on create and on update? Is it update? Updated? Is it create or created? Alright, I'm trusting you, Wolfgang. You're my pair buddy, my YouTube pair buddy that might have a slight time sync issue because YouTube does that sort of thing. And on destroyed. I think that's right. But yeah, again, we'll find out. So on created, on updated, and on destroyed. Okay, cool. I will update that in just a second. Thanks, Wolfgang. That's what pairing's all about. We're using modern technology, man. Also, I didn't spell destroyed right anyway, so that's good. And we got like unupdated there, and cool. And yeah, maybe we could just do our view state actions in there, because view is just a function that generates a virtual DOM. And there's no reason why we couldn't just embed it in some more JSX, because yeah, virtual DOM's cool like that, especially George's implementation. That's pretty cool. So yeah, so now we have a wrapped view, and we probably want to return an app with this information in it. So we're going to say initial state, because we don't want to change that. And actions, and wrapped, and document.body. Cool, so we're just gonna set that up, and I think we want a on create, and we're gonna have a function here. And now when we do this console log, oh, okay, so actually this reminds me. So another thing about Ava is because things can be async in an async test, you need to tell Ava how many tests there's going to be, and then we'll come back to this one because I don't remember what it is yet, but we're just going to pass this one. It's going to be, you know, just like when you got a teacher who just really likes you, he just passes you. And I think this is, so it's not ava.expect, it's like ava dot, oh my goodness, I don't remember. Okay, to the docs. Ava, yeah. Futuristic testing. I'm totally not being paid by anyone that's developing HyperApp or Ava, so don't worry, I'm not a shill. Yeah, let's just check out that API. We got some stuff. Oh, here we go. This looks like the sort of stuff I need. Nope, this doesn't look good at all. Let's keep going. We got some like snapshot stuff. Oh yeah, so their examples do like a T. I prefer to call it Ava because that seems more indicative of what it is, and it's a little bit more Englishy too. Uh, let's see. I'm very sure we had an example here, so I'm just gonna. Oh, oh, there we go. Ava.plan. .plan, friends. I knew it. I knew it was something. Cool. So we're planning on one particular assertion, which in this case is just a magic pass. And we're going to log the document, and we should see our mounted app. And if not, then I've done something just really bad with undom. Let's see. Alright, so it doesn't like that. Why don't you like that? This could have something to do with it maybe not liking some JSX. So let's, oops. We can fix it. We have the technology. I think this is a Babel issue. Alright, so for testing we have that, but we're always doing our transform. But just because sometimes I'm paranoid and I think that Babel might just be doing the wrong thing, let's do that. So now we're using the transform inside test as well. I'm pretty sure this gets ran all the time and then just on top of that extends whatever environment. But now I'm not sure, you know? Alright, let's see. Nope, still doesn't like it. Am I doing something crazy? Like, it's possible I'm crazy. So I had like my wife say that to me a few days ago. So anything's possible, guys. Well, this seems like maybe a. Well, there's a few things we can do. So this first thing, does not solve the problem at all. But it seems like undom register kind of belongs out here, and not at all in here. Which does mean all of our tests are going to load up undom, but I think it only gets loaded once. And that's kind of expected. So we'll save that. And yeah, so H is being exposed. There's a few ways we can deal with this. The easiest, however, is just to not use JSX, which I'm perfectly happy with. So forgive me, I haven't done the H syntax in a long time, so I'm gonna just look silly for a few moments while I do this. And I think we get like children at the end in an array. That seems like the right thing. Also, while I'm at it, I hope everyone else watching the live stream, you know, there's a shout out to Wolfgang. He's apparently being my pair buddy, and I love it. This is what live YouTube coding is all about. It's not about the code, it's about the friends that we make. Wolfgang's a cool guy. Catch him on the HyperApp chat. I haven't heard him say anything weird, so that's like really cool. So shout out to you, Wolfgang. You're a cool guy. Um, yeah, yeah, yeah. I swear I'm not being paid by Wolfgang either. All right, cool. So this should work. Without JSX, that's probably a good thing. I don't really. So like disclaimer, I'm not a big fan of JSX, but I use it because doing things like H is slightly more time consuming. But like, I don't know, life. But in unit tests, it's not a big deal because I shouldn't be writing a big view in the unit test because that seems like maybe I'd be building a component instead. So yeah, let's see. Does this work now? No. Okay, so this is indicative of something else. It means that I probably just did something horrifically wrong at some point, and now I need to deal with the consequences. So let's see. It doesn't like my end bracket. So that doesn't seem right because okay. So we're gonna assume that just something horrible is happening and Babel is just choking. I've had this issue before where you have kind of expected behavior from just like coding something in a browser, which is however very different than coding something in Node, and sometimes it doesn't work out. Like automatic semicolon insertion, yeah, sometimes it doesn't work the way you think it does. That's cool. You live, you learn. All right, it still doesn't like this. My goodness. Okay, so we're gonna do the old-fashioned way. We're gonna comment some stuff out and see if it still works. Okay, so I did something bad here, and I don't know what it is yet. If anyone has any ideas, I would love to hear it. I swear I'm a good coder. Like I get paid money to do this. Like not the live streams. That's like that's a whole different thing. But like this, coding, I get paid. I know what I'm doing. And yet here I am. Yeah, so that looks good. That looks good. That looks good. This looks good. In fact, we could maybe shorten this up a little bit because there's some cool Babel transforms. Alright, so we're passing items, oh yeah, okay. Yeah, that could be the right thing. Yeah, so my typical thing is like always have a trailing comma, but sometimes I just put commas wherever I feel like and hope that, it does the right thing. Okay, so this is an interesting development. So apparently on create didn't get called. So there could be a multitude of reasons for that, but we're gonna just switch over to on update. I think there's actually a very good possibility that something in undom is preventing hyperapp from calling the right thing. And yeah, but I know on updated works. I ran into this like a few days ago. So yeah. Cool. Oh wow, I had like a weird spike of like a bunch of people watching the stream for about a second. I'm like YouTube famous now. I think that's how it works. Alright, so plan one. Didn't like that. So plan for one assertion got 0. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. So yeah, this is like totally an assertion. And this totally happened. Like when we switch over to the tab. Oh no, it didn't. It didn't. Okay, let's clear this. We can do this. Focus. Let's just make sure I'm not crazy. Okay, so it didn't output, but it was outputting on create, I think. Am I crazy? It's possible I'm crazy. You guys can tell me if I'm crazy. It's cool. Okay, so you get to, okay. So I'm just trying to like sanely think about this. So we're telling Ava to expect exactly one assertion. OnCree gets fired because console.log happens. Um, yeah. So Wolfgang, I'm pretty sure pass should be an assertion, but I've been wrong so many times. So, true is true. That seems like the sort of assertion that Ava wouldn't be able to know is fake. So let's see. Do we win? No. Interesting. Am I using plan wrong? Is that what's going on? Let's see. Plan. Plan how many assertions? And let's see. Assertion planning. So T is stuff. Yeah, this all seems like exactly what I'm doing, give or take a little bit. But Dom certainly only gets created once. This gets called. I am doing exactly one assertion, which even in this case it's doing like a T pass. Do I need to do like a T end? Maybe, maybe, maybe that's what's happening. So I suspect end is like what does the full count. Let's see. I just want to make sure I'm not crazy at this point because we can't go further if I'm crazy. T end is not supported in this context. Um, must use callback mode. Well, isn't that just silly? Okay, so what's callback mode? So we get stuff. Callback support. I don't know. Maybe I'm just bad at programming. Maybe this is my um, oh yeah, T.end. So it's because in all the documentation they use T instead of Ava, which I prefer to say Ava. It's it's a personal preference, but like typically their test setup is this, and I like to just defy authority. I think that's my problem. But okay, so just for sanity, just in case like I'm crazy and the variable has to be T. Oh, are you saying maybe not as a function? Well, this guy should be a function here, right? Like this is read file, for instance, is a function, so tn gets called, and then here it's like called as a function. So I don't think I'm crazy on that. I'm willing to be crazy though, Okay, okay. Let's all just believe. Okay, if everyone's on board, maybe this will pass. Son of a bitch. Okay, I tried. Um, okay. Well. In spite of this, just doing some weird stuff. Let's go see if our stuff got mounted. Hey, cool. It totally did. It mounts. That was the whole point of this, and I'm sorry. Sometimes I'm just not. I'm not good. You know. Sometimes I am, but other times not. Okay. So let's just let's just move on. I'm pretty sure this works, and maybe I'm just crazy. I'm I'm so close to being crazy. Like my wife just looks at me sometimes, and that's what she tells me because we're boring people, and that's how we talk. Um, I hope she's not watching. Um, all right, so user can add an item to the list. So there's a few ways we can approach this. I like to be slightly clever in my tests, and as you know, if you've watched any of my live streams or ever heard me talk about this, being clever is usually a bad idea, and I totally agree. but not this time. So I apologize to my past self and my future self. Let's say these are going to be our things that we're going to do. And so let's see. So I think it's going to start empty. And on update, we're going to say if to-do.length is greater than 0, then to-do.pop. Oh my god. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, so to-do is going to be a list of functions, and pop is going to return that function to us, and then we're going to call it. So that's what's going on there. I'm pretty sure if there's such a thing as coding hell, that I might be going there. Oops. Yeah, and it sounds like maybe once we're done this, we'd probably get like ava.end, which also may not work. I could also be using an outdated version of Ava. I'm pretty sure I'm not. I used Ava next because it sounds more futuristic. Alright, so anytime we update, if we got more actions to do, let's do it. So let's kick it off by by the way, this could be done so much better. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, so we get an action, so we have our list. And in this case, we want to do exactly what a user does. So that's what kind of end-to-end testing is all about. So I think we're gonna have to do some text setting, maybe. That seems like maybe the right thing. Or you know what, should we do this the good old DOM way? Okay, that's what we're gonna do. I don't know if this is gonna work because I don't know if undom supports this. So that's my disclaimer. This might just not work. Oh yeah, that also reminds me that this is not going to be good. So originally this mount list, what it does is just appends our app to the body. However, we're definitely going to run into a problem because Ava runs every test in parallel, which means that we might have a bunch of apps mounted onto body, and that seems like maybe not the thing we want. But maybe we could have a little bit of fun with this. So let's say we're gonna do our, I guess we'll call it DOM target. I think target's a good name. I don't know. And so we have document, which is coming from an undom, and what if we did create element div and a document.body.append child target. And we change that to target. And on top of that, I think we also need to maybe return target along with our app. Which means down here, we actually get our container. Oh, that's a way better name. Okay. So this is, maybe that was just a great example of rubber duck programming with YouTube. So I'm saying if you're not familiar a lot because I'm just like, coming up with these concepts and just talking about them. But if you're not familiar with rubber duck programming, basically you get like a rubber duck or an inanimate object, it doesn't matter, and you talk to the rubber duck and tell it what you're doing. And what this does is it actually like forces your brain to listen to what you're doing instead of just like blindly following, whatever your brain's coming up with. And because you're processing it, you think more about the consequences of what you're doing. So in this case, we had target up here, and we're typing away, and then at some point, which was actually down here, I discovered that target was a terrible name, and container was probably the better one. And so that's what rubber duck programming is all about. If you've ever seen my office, which maybe one or two of you have. You've noticed that I have a rubber duck there. I don't actually talk to it. I kind of give it some like affirming nods on occasion, and um, it's only seen me cry once. But what I like to do is just internally, I kind of have a conversation with myself, but while looking at the duck, because sometimes that helps. Um, and just think through what I'm doing as if I'm conversing with someone. And then if I'm pairing with them, I just, kind of turn off my brain filter and just start, saying it, and hopefully nothing terrible gets said. Uh, anyway, that was a long way to go to say, hey, let's do an end-to-end test. I'm only going to do one because this is taking forever and I'm just a terrible human being. Um, but you'll see how it works, and then hopefully you'll be like, hey, I can unit test my hyperapp stuff because it's way easier than I ever thought it could be. And that's exactly what I like to hear. Okay, so we have our main element, which is container, and we have access to it, so because it's within scope. And what if we did container dot? Now the real question is how much of the DOM has undom uh, actually specced out. So let's pretend that query selector works. I don't know that it does. If it doesn't, then we'll have to bring something in like Cheerio or something. I don't know. But anyway, let's see if we can find an input. So we'll just say let's input equals that. Well, actually, we'll confirm that that's going to do the right thing, hopefully. And let's see, I guess if it doesn't, then this would be like a Ava fail. That seems like the right thing to do. I don't know. But essentially what we want to do is while we go through this list, if there's something that it can't do, then maybe we need to fail it. Another option could be doing a try. Oh my god. Then catch. Because this is a test environment, I'm not really concerned about doing try catches, which I believe has a bit of a performance penalty, but totally not a big deal. And this would be Ava or ABBA. Sure, why not? Alright, so cool. Automatic failing. That seems like a good thing to have. I hope it is. We'll find out. Yeah, so I guess we want to trigger that. So this would be input. Oh my goodness. Okay. So we're gonna get into obscurity. So I apologize. I'm so sorry, everybody. But I think we need to do equals new event, which I believe I can pass it something like what would be in this case on input. This is totally not right. We're gonna have to go to the docs, and then I'm gonna look really silly because I'll be like, hey, why didn't I just bring in a helper, like a helper library? I could have solved all my problems. But sometimes in life you just can't. You just can't think like that. You can't be the failure that you're about to be on YouTube in front of people that hopefully think that I'm semi-intelligent. Okay, so I think we'll get something like target and like value. And this seems like maybe we want to, I don't know, something like this. And this is totally not right. So let's do mdn simulate on input event. I know we can do this. Yeah, I don't want that. Maybe this. Oh, wait. Do we have to do it this way? Can I manually call from on the VDOM? Okay, this is gonna get weird. So anyone that's watching, this is gonna be the wrong way to do it. I'm sorry, a little bit, but we're gonna make a Frankenstein, and then you'll see why it's a bad idea. Okay, so what if? Oh, how am I gonna do this? Because what I was thinking is basically we could like capture a copy of the VDOM and yeah, just trigger stuff. Okay, I think I'm maybe that's the wrong thing. I think that's the wrong thing. Okay, we're abort. I'm being crazy. We don't need to be crazy. Simple things, Alex. Simple. Okay, so what if we did a set text, and how's this gonna work? Oh yeah, I changed how this works in a different branch, which is totally doesn't matter, but we're gonna change it here too, I think. So let's see. No, not action. We have our list, and what we want to do is a set text, and we're gonna set it to test. And then I think immediately after we're gonna do something like, oh hey, it's a one-liner. Things are getting simpler. I knew it would happen. What if we did a list dot add item? Okay, so this is going to take a little bit, so this is why we're definitely going to only do this one test. Is currently this won't work, but we want our code to maybe align to the real world use cases, which is someone types stuff and then says add item, whereas right now add item actually takes the item in, and that seems like not at all the right thing. So what if, okay, so we're going to break some tests first. So this is also completely valid. This is not test driven. Maybe this would this be behavior driven? I don't think so. I don't know what driven this is, like maybe a little crazy. Yeah, that sounds like the right thing. Okay. I'm so sorry. I'm such a terrible YouTuber, just like a big old babbler. Alright, so let's fight against my editor's desire to align things strangely. Alright, so what if we relied on our old state.txt and brought that into the right stuff? Okay, so we're going to run our tests, which this guy is totally not going to work, and it's going to fail us, and I'll be sad because I'll see more failing tests necessary. Cool, let's run the old tests, and there's going to be a bunch that thought stuff was going to happen, but it didn't. Cool, so what if we just fix those? You know? That seems like the right thing to do. Okay, so what's happening is we're using add item like this, but add item doesn't work this way anymore. So maybe, is there an easy way for us to mock this? I think I can just like tell it. So we're going to do a set text and add, because there's no way this could be the wrong thing. And so we're expecting a state and actions, and we want to give it a text. So this seems kind of bad because now we're essentially using something external to the app in our tests. So maybe we'll think this through a little bit more in a second, but just for the sake of doing this in a timely manner, sort of, is what if we had a run actions. So this is technically inside a run actions, but that's okay, I think. Pretty sure this should just kind of compose without too much craziness. Okay, so run actions, and we want to do a actions dot set text to text, and then an actions dot add item. And then we could change this to be set text and add item. Alright, so let's see. So we had, I was hoping it would give me a summary count at the bottom of how many fails, but it's okay. We'll check to see if we get at least that one passing. So that was just adding test. Cool, seems to do the right thing. So we can add an oh, wait, does it? No, no, okay. This So why doesn't this work? So run actions essentially just composes against our initial state and actions. Oh, maybe do I need to, you know, actually pass it in? Oh, and, I should totally be returning it too. And if I'm returning it, it sounds like I can maybe kind of shortcut this a little. Come on, big no money, no whammies? Nope. Oh yeah, and then because I'm using the bracket syntax, I don't need semicolons. No, that didn't. Oh, yeah, yeah. You make a good point. Different initial state. Well, that should be fine since it all gets piped in. It looks like it does the right thing. Yeah, okay. Okay, we're good. We're good. Although, again, now we've got, like, this function which isn't really a real function and we're testing it and it's not great. This we'll use it to get our tests off the ground, and then maybe we'll look at maybe refactoring that a little. All right, so now our foo bar test should pass. Yay! Oh, so like I guess maybe a note on this, and this is like just coming from functional programming, is when you have really cool composable functions like this. So like, it seems like a hip and trendy thing, but it's actually you can do some really awesome stuff. Like, for instance, with what we just wrote, if I can find it because sometimes I'm blind. Okay, there we go. So this composed inside an extra run actions, and that's really cool. Like, it seems like that's a really boring and like not at all interesting thing, but what we just did here is prove that run actions can be composed and injected internally into itself, so you could have an action that does another series of actions, and that's what makes functional programming just really cool, right? Like, you can just pipe things together, and as long as you're piping the right type of data together, it'll just flow, and it should just work. I say that with air quotes, which you totally can't see because who wants to look at a guy when you can look at really cool source code? Uh, uh, but yeah, so that's really cool. And I wasn't sure if it was going to work because sometimes, you come up with an experiment in your brain and you think it's going to work and you're not sure. And this time it did. Because functional programming is super kick-ass. So set text and add item. Cool. And yeah, that one's fine. And these guys should be. Oops. Vim. Sometimes it's hard. Set text and add item. Cool. Alright, I think we did it. I think all the tests outside of our now slightly different snapshot. Cool. And so let's see, why did our snapshot change? So let's read through this. So it looks like we've gotten an extra item. Did one of our snapshots just not work before? And now through the magic of functional programming, we did it. Yeah, maybe that's what's going on. So let's see, that is did not match. So with view with item matches snapshot. Alright, so we add the item, but yeah, that's not the right thing anymore. This should be set text and add item, but with everything spelt correctly. And it looks like maybe we gotta promote this guy up to the top to go with our run actions. For our test, and now our snapshot should resume being the correct thing. One exception. Oh, because there's no test in end-to-end. Okay, cool. So now we changed slightly how the app works, but now we could argue that it is better. Like it should do much more of the correct thing now. Come on. Come on, Webpack, don't let me down. Cool. So let's see. Yeah, it definitely looks like it's doing the right thing. Cool. Also, that's interesting that spaces removes the text. That's probably the right thing. Yeah, I think we're okay. Alright, so that means that now we can write our test to do the right thing, which is going to be that. And so we're just going to kick it off by doing a to-do.pop, run our first thing, which is going to kick off our update, and run our next thing. Cool. So let's do yarn test. Alright, so we planned on one assertion and got 0. Yeah, so what I'm guessing should actually happen here is probably, so if we have an update, it means that we probably did that right. Maybe that should go inside here. Maybe after pop. Seems like kind of the wrong place, but we'll see. So technically we have 2 items here, so we are planning for 2 assertions. Take it away. Okay, so we got 0 assertions, so that's interesting. Let's just do a console log to do. It's very possible that it's just not firing update, and then we'll have to investigate why. Yeah, maybe that's the case. So we do a pop here, which does our set text, and this is wired, right? Like it's coming from here. So speaking of which, we're not doing any DOM stuff, so let's clear that out again. Just get rid of all this complicated stuff that I thought would be really cool, but like as it turns out, complicated stuff is never cool. I think I heard that from a friend. Cool, so we're planning for 2 assertions. Each time we loop, we run the assertion and then whether or not we passed. Although it sounds like maybe this should actually go up here, because this is after we've already called the first. So let's see, maybe it's gonna work. Come on, big money, no whammies. Okay, so we got 2 assertions, or planned for 2, but got 0 assertions. Alright, so I'm starting to think that I don't know how to do an assertion in Ava, because I don't know what's going on. This is kind of puzzling me. Alright, so plan. How many assertions there's going to be in the test? See assertion planning and t.end. End the test. Only works when you're doing test.cb. Okay, so there's 2 things we can do. Test.cb here, which should activate Ava test, so that's what I was missing last time. Come on, don't let me down, big money, no whammies. Oh, whammy, because end was never called. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's because on update isn't being called, which is puzzling to me. Because mount list is definitely mounting our app in the container. We can definitely observe it by just logging out document.body. Oh, and I guess here would actually be kind of where we want to. Oh, but we don't have access to the list yet. Oh man. Asynchronous code, sometimes it's a headache. Yeah, so the ava.pass is essentially saying that anytime we're doing an update, this should be because we tried to do one of our actions. So technically at the end of each action, which is the beginning of an update, we should be defaulting to pass, but then if anything about the previous one failed, we get that. It's also possible that we want to do it this way, but then I don't have a way to like trigger the update unless there's like some magic and hyper app that I can actually do that. Oh, like t.pass as in not a function. Let's see. Okay, so passes, yeah, that should be a function. So, unless I totally just miswrote that. No, no, that's good. Oh, but I reverted. Oh, no, shoot, that wasn't the right thing. All right, let's fix that. Okay, yes, you're smart, Wolfgang. Sometimes I am not, and I appreciate you sticking it out, man. Am I getting to like the 2 hour mark? Oh man, I feel sorry for you guys who've just been watching me like write questionable code for like an hour and a half so far. And I mean questionable. Like been really teetering on good code, but not really there. Alright, so yeah, t.end is never called. Our to-do list is never displayed. Okay, so just in case we have some sort of weird scope, just trying to make it clear for me. Sometimes you just gotta do some bad console logs because that's just who I am as a person. Okay, so yeah, still not doing the trick. So why is that? So let's move this down here. So we're planning for 2 right before we run our first item. In fact, maybe we could just remove that. It's also possible that like my maybe clever pop is not at all doing the right thing. Another case where doing something clever is just a really bad idea. Something that I really should learn. Alright, did we get anything? No. Where did I misspell on update somewhere? That all looks right to me. So mount takes an object on update is one of these. Okay, we're going to the docks. Because there's only so much torture I want to put you guys through before I just, concede that I'm almost certainly wrong. Okay, so yeah, life cycle on update. That totally looks like it's a thing. And it definitely gets called. And just for sanity's sake, let's see what version of hyperapp do we have here. So we have hyperapp, come on, there we go, 112. And just for sanity's sake, make sure that we're looking at roughly the same stuff, 112, which looks like it's also head on update, takes an attribute, Looks like it does the correct thing. Yeah. Yeah, so what is going on here? So why would set text not be firing an update? So we've got our container, we've got our component, which takes some stuff. And I'm running out of ideas. Did I just, did I mess this up for everybody? Okay, let's get rid of this pop. Let's just do a pass. And in fact, let's do a update pass. And then immediately we'll do an end. Just want to try and resolve whether or not maybe there's some sort of like error being caught that I'm swallowing and I shouldn't be. And make sure there's no like text here, so t.end was never called. It's definitely there. This guy's not called. On update is just a function. There's no magic to on update at all that I'm aware of. It should be just passing a reference to the element. Like if I check here, yeah, just on update, and it's a function. It's not like a curried function or anything crazy. So I'm not crazy. I knew it. I knew I wasn't crazy. But I don't know, Wolfgang. Any ideas? Am I just like crazy? Which, like, as usual, I'm perfectly happy conceding that I don't know what I'm talking about. But man, it's got me stumped. Well, we can do the definitely not good, but we'll try it test, which is on update. So in our actual app. Alright, I guess I don't really need that semicolon in there. Okay, so yeah, all of our snapshots are not going to work. So and with this, t.end was never called. And do we have any output on update? No. Okay, I don't know. I think I might just have to accept defeat on this and be like, hey, end-to-end testing sucks. No, it doesn't suck. Clearly it's me, but yeah, in general, I'm really confused. This is how you would set it up, though. Like, give or take some like maybe some rough code here, but you would basically line up a set of actions and then have like expected updates and passes or fails. Oh yeah, I guess we can try doing some on create stuff here. So let's see what's my best way to pipe that in, because like the issue being, I guess we can do something like actions, then fat arrow, and then we'll just have to do a little bit of magic here. So this would be on create actions and on update actions, on destroy actions. Alright, so that'll let us query those in. So let's try a action set text test. Oops. Alright, I'm putting all my money on you, Wolfgang. On destroy is not a function. Okay, well, this is true. This is true. So let's just do, I'm sorry, this code is just going to get even more mangled. But, yeah, at this point I just want to see it work. Yeah, once again, maybe I should have just sat down like for an hour before this and went through a test. Okay, so plan for one assertion but got 0. Cannot set property on creative undefined. Ooh. Okay, so I think what's happening is this is passing a false. Okay. So better yet, we're gonna do on create or empty function, which is quite possibly a worse bit of code. But I really want to try and figure out what's going on here. This is why, you know, we're programmers. We see problems in our code and we need to fix it. It's like a sick drive. Like, it's sickening. It's sick. Alright, Ava plan 1, and it still didn't like cannot set property on create of undefined. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Okay, so I don't have any weird typos here. But maybe the easier thing to do here is just do an on destroy actions, which is technically just dummy, but that's just going to get rid of some of this code that's conditional. Okay, so now we're pre-currying in our actions, which do exist, because they're coming inside our view, which technically means that we get only the actions from the first render, but those should be pre-wired, and then actions can't be extended. So this should be fine. It should be fine. Alright, hyperapp 154. I don't know, George, I might be going after you. This could be a bizarre bug request. Let's see, so that's technically in dist even. Fun. Okay, but let's see, 145 doesn't exist. Okay, we're gonna have to explore a little. Hyperapp. No, not the debug. Hey, fun little plug. Yeah, I wrote a debugger. Yeah. Okay, so what's kind of interesting is this might be something with Ava, but it seems to think that we're in dist/dist, but we're only in /dist. I don't think that's the problem, but that's strange. Oh my god. We're in... okay. Okay, man. Everything's cool. 145, but that's not gonna help me. And that's probably not gonna help me either. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, well, let's just check the source. Go to 145, which is set element prop. Okay, George, I might have a bug for you, because this looks suspiciously similar to the get node code or get key node code issue that I ran into also with this app, ironically enough. However, I'm really at a loss as to why why apparently this is a problem, because value, where's value coming from? Okay, so set element prop value, why would that be a problem? Okay, let's I don't know, I might just call this a lost cause and bug. So okay, so let's get rid of on destroy. We're not using it. No point in passing it along if we don't care. And let's get rid of on update. Let's just see if on create is at least doing the right thing. Okay. Apparently this is undefined, so what if we did a key wrapper, just in case for some reason it's losing context of that first div, which I don't think should be the case. Oh, there's a bug with undom? Fun. Okay, does JS DOM support like a similar register? Wouldn't be surprised. Let's just, okay, well, we'll do this one last ditch effort. Also, I think JS DOM has like some big warnings like, hey, don't use this ever globally because it's a bad idea. So clearly the first thought I have is, hey, we should just use this globally. I don't know, this package seems like as good as any. Let's give it a shot. And add JS DOM global, and let's do dev, and I have a suspicion that I also need to add JS DOM. Yep. However, this also means that I can't use my clever require trick, but that's okay. Well, then we get like a cleanup. Well, that sort of stinks, but okay. Okay, well, we can do that. We can do, I think Ava has an after all and a before all, so let's just do a after all, and let's get rid of undom register, because that's going to give us some sort of a collision, I'm sure. And we want to run after all up here, and let's see, what do we got to do with this? Just require it, call it, sure. Oh, there's a JSDOM register. Okay, well let's do that. And it sounds like I don't have to do that. I have a suspicion that it might be probably hooking onto some custom Mocha stuff. Okay, never mind. We're bringing it back. Cool. So yeah, let's do a before all and an after all, and that's gonna have to come in too. And it's gonna be something like that cleanup is null, and cleanup equals just global. Alright, it's not too awful. Like, at the same time, it is a little awful. Actually, I'm curious if I can just do this. This is better. Okay, so in other news, I'm probably going to break Ava, and there's going to be all sorts of other problems. But, let's see. Maybe we don't. Alright, all sorts of other stuff going on. Before all, pretty sure Ava supported this. Oh, test up before. Okay, yeah, that makes slightly more sense. Anyone that's still with me, I appreciate you being being the warriors. You guys get like some points or something. Who else is here? So I see Wolfgang. You're still here. You're alive. Who's my number two? I got two people watching, and I'm pretty sure the other one isn't me unless I have some sort of hidden tab. But if not, Wolfgang, you're my private audience. I knew someone loved me, and you're the guy. Alright, let's see. Does it work? Does it work? Also, is it before all? Is it just before? Oh, yeah, it's just before. All tests and hooks must be declared synchronously in your test file and cannot be nested with. Oh, okay. I digress. Like, I can totally see why this would be bad, but I was kind of hoping that we could just do it because scoping's like a cool thing. Oh, I can see my participants. And it's just you, Wolfgang. I scared everyone else away. Apparently, I have this running on some tab somewhere. Oh my goodness, some other guy. Hi C dash dash JM, I am well. I trust that you're a real cool guy. Or girl. Like, who am I to tell you what gender you should be? Okay, so still no dice. And alright, so let's do just do like some stuff. Like literally anything other than an empty test is like gonna be good. Cool. Okay, so that's running and maybe doing the right thing. I think we're making progress. Okay, so yeah, let's blame this on Undom. It made me go crazy. I didn't get it, but now we're here. We did it. Life's good. And we kind of built a little test rig. Like, this seems like a pretty reusable chunk right here. Considering it mostly doesn't care about your app. So yeah, maybe this is something cool. Oh hey, Colin Mills. Yeah, yeah, long time. I only met you for like 2 weeks, but you're a cool guy. Thanks for showing up. Um, yeah, so just I'll give you the Cole's notes of the last while of streaming. So we're using hyperapp, which is like the crude summary is it's a super lightweight React alternative that's based on Elm, which is kind of based on Lisp slash Haskell slash a bunch of languages that are better than JavaScript. And anyway, um, so we're setting up some tests, and unit tests are going really well. End-to-end tests, however, were not at all. So Wolfgang, who is my partner in crime so far this evening, has been my pairing buddy through the YouTube delay, but it's been working out really well to figure out why end-to-end tests are not working. Oh yeah, yeah, that's probably a good call. And I said your full name, and we talked about work, so whoops. That's okay. I don't think like I don't know. I get like 10 people watching these videos, so it's cool. It's cool. We're almost at the 2 hour mark, so like people probably aren't making it this far anyway. Only the really sick sadists are. All right, cool. So, hey, our on update. It ran. Oh yeah, Wolfgang, you're the man. Um, I don't know if like there's a way to like let everyone know in the hyper app community know that you're the man, but hey, you know what? No, we can do this. We can do this. We're doing it. We're doing it. I'm pretty sure I follow you on Twitter, so we can do this. I'm not good at social media. I apologize. Man, I know you're in here. You're somewhere. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I apologize. You should be tagged on this, and yet here I am, just not at all good at social media. Oh shit. Okay, can we fix it? Can we update this? No. Oh, but we can delete it. We'll pretend it never happened. We can redo it. It's a redo. It's a redo. I'm so bad. Oh yeah. A live tweet. A live tweet on live YouTube. That's that's as web 5.0 as it gets, man. We made it happen. All right. So now let's do a pass because I want to just see that the system is indeed working and I'm not crazy. Oh my goodness. Son of a bitch. Got zero. But all right, well just bear with me. Bear with me. Oh yeah, we don't need to be spamming any of my Twitter updates. I don't even know what my Twitter updates are. I don't even use it. So, yeah. Anyway, yeah, so like updates totally firing. Um, maybe plan just does not at all do the thing that I thought it would do. So what if we didn't use plan and we used just cv and we did ava.end. Okay, I think that's going to be our solution. Alright, so value isn't true. Yeah, it didn't complain. And if we did maybe just dot pass, because we're at that point now. Does it work? Does it work? Come on, big money, no whammies. Bum 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 ba-da-dum. Alright, so cleanup function. So this is just global. Yeah. Yeah, so it definitely looks like it passes us back some sort of a cleanup function. Oh, but it'd help if I paid attention to scoping. Scoping's important, right? Yeah, I had test CB and then I removed it because I wasn't sure if there's something else going on, and then I brought it back. Sometimes I'm really quick with Vim. Uh, oh man, sometimes the delay in YouTube is just really tragic. Cause I'm like, what's going on here? And and I know you're answering in real time for you, but it's a little bit later for me. And all right, we did it. We did. We got end-to-end testing, sort of. Okay, so let's round this off real quick. So what if What if we had something like no, actions is a bad word. Okay, we're gonna go back to do. If someone has a better name for this variable, please let me know. I would love a way better name than what I'm currently using. Alright, so what if we did actions dot set text test, and then also actions dot what was it, add item, and then actions dot rem item 0. Well, I guess we don't want that. We just want to do that, and then probably at the end we need something to assert that what we have is good. Alright, so let's see, we get element is part of what we just get for free. So let's see, is there a way that we can do this assertion to make sure that once we add the item that's good? Well, you know what, I guess we could do state actions. And then here we could do something like let's see, Ava deep equals state items, and we want to see that test got in there, and then Ava end. Cool. Okay, I think this is it. I think this is it. So we're asserting that all of these summed actions from the user deep equals our new state. I think that's basically end to end. You know, it's pretty close. End to end would probably do a little bit more event simulation, which I'm not sure that Undom supports, and there's probably some other tooling I need to bring in for that. But yeah, let's update this a little. So we want to do something like const progress to do. That seems like a nice way to do this, I think. Okay, so what if we basically did something like to do dot pop, and on top of that we need to pass each thing a state and actions, and the current state we can get from update, I believe. Pretty sure on update technically give that to us. Oh, no, I need to maybe pipe those in. Yeah, let's do that. So what if we did state actions and state actions, and then here technically we get this, and then we also get it here. Alright, I just solved all of everyone's problem ever when it comes to end-to-end testing. We just did it. We created the rig right here. You saw it happen live. It was great. Yeah. So on create sounds like we want to progress to do, and almost certainly we need to pass in state and actions. And we probably want something like if to do dot length is 0, then we just return. Nothing more to do. And we just do that, and it should just magically go through all of our things and pass our test. Oh, son of a. Progress to do. Yeah, yeah, it sounds like maybe I don't know how to spell, maybe? Yep. The progress. Progress? I'm not even sure how you'd pronounce that. But, yeah, sometimes spelling, happens to me all the time. uh, hey, cool. So, our state items totally doesn't have the thing that we expect it to have. So that's really interesting. So we add the item, which should kick off. So that's coming from here, and that kicks off basically our render loop. And on update should be happening basically in sync with that. Like we should be getting the updated state. Um, so that's really interesting that it doesn't have it. Unless on update, well, it's coming from our render, which does have a fresh copy of state being injected. Huh. The plot thickens. It thickens real bad. So I guess maybe you didn't see it happen here today, folks. I was here, you were here, you saw it flop. Um, oh man, I'm getting tired. Starting to get a little stupid. A little stupid. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna say something really dumb, and I'm gonna lose the respect of everybody. um, yeah. Why? What's the issue here? Let's do a update state. All right, let's see. So we should get like 3 updates, I think. And we don't get any. Huh. Could this be an issue with this being run synchronously and somehow our console logs are being swallowed? Oh, I know our problem. We're going the wrong direction. I think we need to what is it, unshift to the docks, because I think unshift is wrong. MDN array. Yeah, also, I don't work for Mozilla or anything like that. I'm just using their docs. I think they're nice. Some people have a problem with W3 schools, but it's a perfectly valid resource. So, don't judge. Okay, so unshift I believe is, yeah, it adds. So does shift remove or slice, because sometimes I can't click. Like you put your mouse in a spot and it's totally not the spot that you want it to be. Cool, so shift removes the first element of the array and returns that removed element. Cool. That's what we want. Sounds like the right thing. Come on, big money, no whammies. Hey, we got some updates. Hey, it passed. And then you saw it happen tonight. I know we said we saw it happen and then we didn't see it happen, but then we saw it happen again, folks. It can happen. And it did happen. All right. So I'm done. We're done. Because this was more trouble than it was worth. So some lessons learned. Undom, maybe not a good option for hyperapp. I'm not sure if that's like a bug in undom, in hyperapp, or somewhere in the middle. But JSDOM is the winner. We saw it happen. So yeah, we need to have this code going on. JSDOM. I'm pretty sure you don't need to use JSDOM global. I'm 99% sure you can just use straight up JSDOM, and this JSDOM global is just unnecessary. Someone can correct me later. You can tweet me or comment on my video, or whatever you gotta do. It's cool. I can take the criticism. So can JSDOM. So can undom. Um, Yeah, but this is generally an end-to-end test. So you have a user story, which in this case you can add an item. So some other things you could do. We're not doing it here because my brain's gone. Um, but you would have maybe a test for user can remove an item where you pre-populate your initial state with an item and then you remove it, and all that should just work. Um, Also with end to end, like I said before, maybe toss in like some simulated events in JavaScript, which I don't know libraries off the top of my head that are good options. JSDOM might have something built in for simulating events as well. My familiarity with it is reasonably low, but yeah, I'm sure there's some good options. This isn't bad though. This is probably middle ground between a unit test and an end to end because we're technically, since we're calling our actions directly, we're not really testing that the UI is doing the right things. So as a result, there's a bit of a disconnect between a client story and our test. But it's good enough for now. It's good enough for now. Okay. So thank you everyone for joining me. Even those that couldn't do the whole thing, I totally don't blame you. Um, Yeah, this is a long stream, way longer than I thought it was gonna be. Oh, big shout out to Wolfgang. This guy, he saved my butt. We made it happen, and he was there all along the way. So, yeah, if you're in the Hyper app Slack channel, like give him some thumbs up and stuff, because that guy, he was rocking it. Um, and we got unit testing, and it works. Uh, it, there's definitely some room for some optimization. But this works. So we've got unit tests and we've got some end to end. And by some, I mean one, but we've got a really cool rig that we can build more later. Maybe that'll happen. I make no guarantees. But yeah, so that's it. I don't have any cool exit music or anything. So I'll catch y'all later.